I tend to look at people who are liked by everyone a little suspiciously. Because the world is not this massively bland and boring place where everybody likes the exact same things in people. Some folks appreciate brutally honest people who say exactly what's on their mind. Others prefer gentleness and tact. Some admire rebellious, unconventional personalities, while others feel safer around people who are predictable and traditional. So, if I wanted to be liked by absolutely everybody, I'd basically have to become the Swiss Army knife of personalities. One personality here, one personality there, or another personality here. And at some point, you start wondering which one is actually me. The blade, the screwdriver, or the can opener? Authenticity starts to become a bit difficult to track after that. Not very fashionable in this day and age, apparently. Authenticity seems to be all the rage these days. We are bombarded with messages like, be your authentic self. Who cares what people think? Stop hiding who you really are. Live your truth. And of course, we'd love to jump on that train too. But maybe we hesitate because deep inside we feel that authenticity is a risky business. Because if you're genuinely yourself, some people will understand you immediately, but others, they'll find you irritating, strange, too much, too quiet, too bold, too emotional. Real human beings have edges, preferences, and contradictions, which means that the moment you stop adapting yourself for universal approval, you also increase the possibility of rejection. And rejection does not feel fantastic. So, very often, instead of bold authenticity, we choose to adjust according to other people's expectations. Oh, and it's something we know how to do very well because we've practiced it pretty much from the day we were born. Have you seen how quickly a baby learns to repeat a behavior that got all the adults excited? When you were a young child and you said no when you were told to do something, did that go down well? Children understand very quickly that certain behaviors get them brownie points, whereas other behaviors get them at best nothing at all and at worst punishment. At school, you were rewarded for learning what you were asked to learn. If you didn't do your homework, there were negative consequences. In my school, it was full-on corporal punishment. At 13 years old, maybe you started wearing your hair like Cameron Diaz in the movie There's Something About Mary. Oh, and the movie didn't exist yet. But that hairstyle, it was fashionable and you wanted to fit in. Oh, you would have rather died than get to school with a flat fringe. And many times you almost missed your bus because you ran out of hairspray and the damn thing wouldn't stay up. Maybe you and your group of friends had your own language. With some words, you would not have said them at home. So basically, you adopted one behavior to be accepted by your teachers, one behavior to be accepted by the other kids, and another behavior to not be rejected by your family. And some of those were complete opposites. So you have to admit, your adaptation skills were pretty amazing. Now, for some of you, being able to adapt was maybe what kept you alive as a child. And I certainly don't want to minimize that. The problem arises when the adaptation strategy you adopted when you were a kid follows you well into adulthood and becomes your default way of functioning. Some people become so skilled at adjusting depending on the audience that eventually they stop noticing they're doing it. Until maybe something happens. A breakup, burnout, a panic attack, Some moment that suddenly makes them realize, oh wow, I've been playing the role of someone else my entire life. When you pull an elastic band in one direction for long enough, the moment you let go, it flies violently in the opposite direction. That's pretty much what happened to me. I grew up in an environment where being acceptable mattered a lot. I grew up with this non-stop pressure that I had to behave correctly, present myself correctly, remain within the boundaries of what other people considered appropriate. Or if I'd received a penny every time I heard, "You'd better not embarrass me," I would have become a billionaire by the age of 12, for sure. And when you spend years psychologically compressed like that, years trying to remain acceptable, when freedom finally arrives, the elastic band, suddenly you become provocative, contrarian, oppositional. If everybody says yes, you say no. If everybody likes something, you instinctively dislike it. If everybody is offended by something, you suddenly feel strangely drawn toward defending it. I remember when I studied philosophy, we were given essay subjects to discuss. And once, one of them was, honesty is the foundation of morality. Discuss. Naturally, I decided to write my entire essay dismantling honesty, defending deception, questioning whether truthfulness was even morally superior. Did I believe a word of what I was saying? The question didn't even cross my mind. At the time, I probably thought I was being intellectually independent, bold, unconventional. But looking back, I now see that I had simply become attached, emotionally attached to opposition itself. Agreement felt submissive somehow. Consensus felt suspicious. So I instinctively moved against anything that felt socially approved. I enjoyed being the person standing in the opposite corner to the norm. I thought I was suddenly embracing authenticity, but I was actually reacting. I was doing nothing more than swap one costume for another one. Some of us become just as performative trying to be authentic as we were trying to be acceptable. And that's because we treat authenticity like a mathematical equation. We know that if we stop constantly adapting ourselves, some people will naturally dislike us more. We know that authenticity can sometimes lead to rejection. And we unconsciously reverse the equation and start believing that rejection itself is a proof of authenticity. But no, it doesn't work that way. Otherwise, any abrasive behavior could be reframed as courage. Any unnecessary provocation could become, I'm just being real. Some people become so attached to this idea of being authentic that they perform rebellion almost compulsively. Friction itself starts feeling meaningful to them. If people are uncomfortable, then I must be telling the truth. If people disapprove, then it shows I am free. In the end, whether you adapt or oppose, both can become a performance. The person who constantly adapts themselves to be liked may lose themselves inside approval. But the person who compulsively opposes everybody may lose themselves inside reaction. One person is organized around acceptance, the other person is organized around resistance. But both are still psychologically controlled by other people. Neither is truly you. So, how do you recognize authenticity when you meet it? Authenticity rarely needs to shout. Authentic truth exists whether there are people opposing it or not. In other words, you would still say the thing, wear the thing, be the thing, regardless of who else is there to either approve or reject it. Authenticity doesn't need an opponent to feel alive. And maybe that's one of the clear signs that something is actually true for you. You stop feeling the need to constantly proclaim it.